People that need demonstration. That's straight from the devil. I see that word demon? Demonstrate? It's right in there, man. Can't be trusting these devils. No. So, I'm here to respond to a video in response to a comment that I made about whether or not true things need to be demonstrated. Um, no, that's not what it was about. Does something need to be demonstrated for it to be true? That is what it was about. So, anyway, let's switch over to this video. Prove that you need proof by
everyone. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're doing better than okay.
deconverted
But my hopes have no bearing upon reality. Yes. Now, what if somebody said, "Oh yeah, prove
times.
it"? How would I go about proving that my hopes have nothing to do with reality? Like, well, I hope that I
Two
have $1
times
million.
speed.
And I have $1 million. Oh, but maybe you'll get $1 million if you hope for it. Oh, maybe, but you need to show that I could do it. No. You need to show me that hoping doesn't get you $1 million if you do it. No, that's not how things work. You need to prove that they're true. Oh yeah, prove that that's true. What? Yeah. Prove it's true that you need to prove things that are true. Do I know? No, wait, what? Yes. I want you to prove that things are true, that statement is true. Now, I'm sure maybe you're thinking or saying out loud, deconverted man. Nobody would say something like that. Oh, yeah. Oh,
That's me.
right. So somebody said something like that. Now, this isn't the only time I've seen things like this. Or
Let's hear that again. What?
What? Yeah. Prove it's true that you need to prove things that are true. Do I now? Nah, wait, what?
Need to? No. Has nothing to do with need to.
Yes, I want you to prove that things demonstrate that it's true. That all true things are demonstrable.
Yeah. The original quote. So the original message was, truth is what can be demonstrated. That's what I'm responding to, which was from the web expert on my video, What is Truth? Now, originally, Deconverted Man said something else. Truth equals whatever is really real. That's a statement that I can stand behind. Okay? And so I responded to this. Truth is what can be demonstrated. I said, well, okay, please demonstrate that it's true that all things that are true are demonstrable. It's a true statement, right? Go ahead. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead. Oh, it doesn't apply to my statement. No, not my statement. Everything else. It's like, okay, exactly. It's not true. And I can demonstrate that it's not true. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about. Now, we went back and forth a little bit, and then the converted man jumped in, and I thought that it was web expert that I was responding to. And then I realized, no, it was him. And I thought that was kind of odd, actually, that he would stand behind this statement. Apparently, he agrees. So let's go back. And I'm not going to play the whole video, but
So it is true that all true things are demonstrable because that's the claim, right? All true things are.
okay, he just repeats my claim.
After I finish coughing. Okay, so here we go. All right, so the statement. Let's just go ahead and get that out of here from true or false, right? Now, what if before I go any further, you said
Statements are true or false.
Prove that that is true. Prove that the idea that the statement is true or false.
You don't need to do that because that's self-evident. So the statement is true or false. That can either be true, in which it's evidence of itself, or it's false, in which case it's evidence of itself, even though it's not proof of itself. And, technically speaking, I mean, it could be considered false depending on how you define the words true and false. It's like if a statement is partially true, is it partially true, or is it all false? If it's partially false, is it partially true? And it's like, so, but, I agree in that a statement can be broken down into something that is entirely true or entirely false, and it should be. I mean, if we're actually, as an axiom, epistemological axiom, it's like, sure, statements are true or false. If you want to say if there's a tiniest bit of falseness in it, then that makes it a false statement. Okay, you can definitely delineate them that way, although a statement itself could contain both true and false things. So could it be both true and false? It depends on your definition. That's where you get into language, you get into perception, you get into rhetoric. But that's neither here nor there.
False is actually true. What? Huh? What? How? I mean, either it's true or false, right? No, 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 no. Prove that it's true that the statement is true. Okay. And then if I did that, then you're going to want the proof that that's true and the proof that that's true indefinitely, right? Yeah. Okay. So some statements are true because they can't not be true, or they're false, just because they are. And statements are either true or false, right? That's it. Well, what if it's both? But no, because this is actually referring to what we call a law of logic, which is this is essentially it's a deductive syllogism. So this is just how we observe reality. This is how reality be. But somebody's like, oh no, I want you to prove that that is really how reality
Which is not what I'm doing. So, but I agree. So this is an axiomatic statement.
is. Okay. So there's nothing I can do anymore. There's like they're a lost cause. It's like, look, this is how things are. I can't prove any deeper than this that it's either true or false. There's no more. I can't go any further.
It's self-evident, as I said. The statement applies to itself if it's true. If the statement is true, then it's true. It applies to itself. However, truth is what can be demonstrated is not self-evident because you can't apply that to that statement. So it's not an axiomatic level statement. You're inserting something that's fundamentally subjective and limited into this statement, which is what we can demonstrate. So this is not the same thing as an epistemological statement, such as we should only accept as true things that are demonstrable. I don't have any problem with that if you want to put that as an axiom, an epistemological axiom. It's your desire. That's why I said it doesn't matter what I want in our conversation here, if we go back to it. What I want is irrelevant because you asked if you want it to be demonstrated, then it must be because we need things to. It doesn't matter what I want. I'm not referring to an epistemology. It doesn't matter what I need. It doesn't matter what's necessary to be considered knowledge. Any of that. I'm talking about what is real. That's what you originally said. Truth is whatever is really real. It has nothing to do with what we can demonstrate. And I'll get to that. Anyway, it's like, okay, but if you wanna set that as an axiom, um, we should only accept as true what can be demonstrated. That's perfectly fine, as I said, but you are necessarily limiting your understanding to your current technological capability. But that's fine because that's implicitly accepted within the terms of that statement. It's a given. That's like we're limited to the knowledge that we're limited to understanding. That doesn't change what's real. That's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is what is. It doesn't matter what can be demonstrated. Now, you could extrapolate this claim out and say, well, using a more charitable definition of demonstration, it's anything that we could potentially demonstrate. Now, that's not what I said, because we're talking about what I said, which is things that we can demonstrate. If we go back, truth is what can be demonstrated. What does that mean right now? What does that mean ever? I mean, this statement, my statement that we're talking about, is technically referring to what we can demonstrate. Given a charitable definition of this, what could be potentially demonstrated ever? Okay. Well, let's follow that. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. We'll go with that. We'll go
This
with
is as
that.
deep as it goes. This is as far as it goes. It's
So he talks
screw
about
the
this
zeros.
statement.
Look, stop. You need to stop.
Something
If
is
you're that
either
person,
on
just
or
stop.
off.
Just
It's
stop
like
right now.
binary.
Just stop everything.
Binary, it's like either you have a signal or you don't. And we turn that into data. And it's like, we rely on that. Although there's churchery,
Thing actually,
anyway,
because you need
quantum,
to learn
all that.
informal logic, which is what I'm trying to teach you. But you have to understand that certain things.
And that quantum mechanics, thing. It's like both. It's both on and off. But until you look at it. So well, anyway, that's neither here nor there.
That there's no more deeper than it can be than the statement itself. A is A. This is the law of identity.
Yes.
Okay. And I can't do anything to show that that is true other than to just say this is how it is. That's it. That's it. That's all I can do. If things really are for real, proof not real, all logic, which then means you have no logic. So what's it matter then? If you have no logic, then everything is true. It's actually a philosophy called truism, where everything is true. Even if you say truism is false, that's also true. And that's the sort of universe that that person wants to live in, that doesn't want to accept the bare basics of a dichotomy like true or false. And notice, I haven't even gotten to this part yet. I haven't even got to demonstration yet, because I'm still on the axioms. You have to agree that there are axioms. And if you can't do that, we can't even get started. If you want to be picky, pedantic, stupid, I don't know what to call it, and be like, true the dance, look, no, stop. It's true. And when I learned informal logic, and it's like axioms are things that we state to be true, and that's it. They're just asserted. The proof of it is that. There's nothing deeper. There you go. And I'm like, well, but isn't that a problem? I mean, couldn't somebody pretend that God is an axiom, for example? Sure, they could, and some people do that. They're called presuppositionalists.
You mean that everything has a cause? It's Kalam's cosmological argument. It's like everything has a cause, and everything that began to exist has a cause. The way I put it is like anything that's has constituent elements, like anything that can be composed of something else, has to have begun to exist. If something is not composed of lesser things and is, like, let's say, beyond the third dimension, like, doesn't necessarily need to have begun to exist, at least in terms of the fourth dimension. Like,
so hopefully and ideally, the idiot, the nitwit, I'm not necessarily calling anybody a nitwit, by the way. I'll just take their name out of this so that hopefully the
my
person
name
can
off
accept for
that
now, tentatively accept.
straw manning. That's kind of what this is, because this video is about whether or not we should accept as true things that cannot be demonstrated. But I'm not really talking about what we should or could or want to know about what is true or what isn't true. I'm talking about what's real, what exists. Again, so where are we at here? There's one other thing that I kind of wanted to talk about.
Then that means the only thing I can do is assert anything without any demonstrable anything about it. In other words, the whole idea of offering evidence is gone. I don't need evidence anymore. Nobody needs any evidence or proof or anything. We can all just claim things are true. Hey, I'm a lobster. I'm an alien. I'm a millionaire. Whatever. You owe me money. Whatever. So, are you saying that the fact that I want a demonstration of it is actually proof that I need a demonstration of it? That I'm asking for you to demonstrate it is actually the proof that I'm asking for? Yes, that is what I am saying. Prove to me that it's true that you need it to be true. Give me evidence that we need evidence.
So, is it self-evident in the fact that in order to contradict it, you would need demonstration, and therefore that would be evidence of itself? Well, what I'm saying doesn't contradict the need for demonstration. The statement that we're discussing, truth is what can be demonstrated, that makes a claim about what is and isn't true, not whether or not it can be known. So if you're going to accept this statement, in the same way that, well, the need to demonstrate it proves that it's true, like in the exact same way, the fact that you cannot demonstrate it proves that it's false. So is it false or is it true? It's like, it can't be both. We agreed on that. So it's partly false. That means it's false. So let's rephrase it. We can demonstrate everything that's true. All right, go ahead. Like, you can't flip it back on me. Asking for it to be demonstrated would be evidence that things that we should accept as true should be demonstrated. It doesn't have anything to do with what is and isn't. The idea that something should be demonstrated has no bearing on whether or not it can be demonstrated. And that is why I rejected your question about my epistemology. It's like, it doesn't matter. Second to that, I demonstrated that it isn't true. Okay, so there are things, many, many things, which we can not demonstrate, which we can all agree are true. Namely, everything, virtually everything which occurred in the past. There are some things which we have, enough evidence to demonstrate. But, any example, like I gave in our conversation, I gave the example of a locked car, just because it came to my mind when I was thinking about this. If I think, oh, I'm walking into the store and I'm like, did I lock my car? If I go back and check, I can look and see if it's locked or not. But if I push that lock button, either state that it was in, locked or unlocked, it's now locked. There's no way to go back and find if it was locked or not. But it definitely was either locked or unlocked. So it's like there are things in the past which are true that we can no longer demonstrate. This is even with the charitable definition of demonstrate, because there is no conceivable information that you could extract from the cars unless it somehow stored that information on the computer, which it doesn't. As soon as you press that button, it changes the charge within the entire system such that it's putting it in the locked position. So it's like there's no way to extract the data that you would need. And that's just one simple, and you say that's a mundane example. Well, how much more true is it in more important and complex issues, especially the further back you go? It's like you can't demonstrate many, many things, like 99.99999% of the past, but it was true and it is true. So I use the past because we can readily think of these examples, and I think we can all agree that past is true. Something happened. It exists within the same place that you might say God or the Spirit exists, which is so that the way that we interact with the past is through memory, through perception, through language, through visual, very subjective methods. And it's the same way that we interact with whatever would be beyond the material realm. It exists in the realm of ideas. That's why they're called like principalities and powers. Like these are abstract concepts. Like even the idea of an idea is akin to a spirit. Like the spirit of a thing, like the spirit of your town. So it is like an atmosphere. It's like it's a feeling, it's a mood, it's a goal. It's like it's an idea, and it's very similar. Like even God, you could say, is like the principal, like maximal idea or conceptualization, and you would like as far as your brain is, like that's what it would be. I mean, it's more than that. And that's why we have to align our idea of God with what God actually is. That's why polytheism is not an accurate conceptualization of God, because well, that's a whole other topic. But again, I've demonstrated that this statement, what is true is what we can demonstrate, is false, because there are things that are true that we cannot demonstrate. So, so it's not self-evident. It's demonstrably false. Yes, and that's okay that I demonstrated that it's false, that all true things are demonstrated, because what is true doesn't correspond to what we know or what we can demonstrate 100%. Like, hopefully it's vice versa. Like, hopefully everything that we can demonstrate is true. Like, I can accept that. Even though we might be wrong, we can at least act as though it's true, reasonably. But and then even beyond that, so like what's our standard of what we can demonstrate? And I kind of sidestepped this early by going with this more charitable definition, but technically, like with what I said, we like did atoms pop into existence as soon as we could demonstrate that they existed? Obviously not. They always existed. They were always real, even though we couldn't demonstrate them that they are real. We are constantly discovering things. So are things constantly becoming more real? That's absurd. So, and that's the crux of what I'm saying, and I propose that there are things that which are true, which we will never be able to demonstrate. Like even conceivably, there must be things that the human mind will never be able to understand and show. Those things are true, and that's what I'm appealing to. That's the entire point of me saying, and even in the original video, that person is commenting on what is truth. It's true whether you know it or not, and whether you can show it or not. Now, that's totally separate from what we can know. What we can know is a slice of reality, and we label that epistemology, and we have all these rules and these axioms that help us with that. We have logic, and it's like, fine, but here's your bucket. It's like it's perfectly fine within your bucket, but I'm saying there's something outside of that. And we can actually have evidence, but anyway, I'll get to that. So not only do we not know what could possibly be demonstrated in the future, and therefore we don't have access to that truth, we also are constantly discovering ways in which the things that we thought we could demonstrate are untrue. So it's not that great of a parity between what we know and what is real. Um, so that's what I'm getting at. Um, so we either have something that's self-contradictory, so a statement that says all truth can be demonstrated. If that is true, then it can be demonstrated. So go ahead. If not, then it's false. Or we have a statement that is so far from axiomatic that it's entirely false and demonstrably false. Or you have a statement which is completely, it loses all practical implication whatsoever, in which you're basically saying uh, true things are things that could potentially be demonstrated in the future. It's like that falls in line with like true things are true. Like, great. I can agree with that. Doesn't help, doesn't give you any more information, doesn't help you with knowledge, like to even know what you know. It's just a statement that you just like, okay. Um, it has no practical value whatsoever. It's another one of these navel gazing absurdities that we have to deal with rhetorically. Um, it's like, so those are your options with that. Uh, truth being only what can be demonstrated. Hopefully, I've made myself clear. I don't mean to offend, but I think that statement is very false and easily shown to be false. I understand that what you're saying here is a completely different statement, which you are free to defend. Um, Now, the problem with that is what do you mean by demonstrate? Because if you mean only empirically, well, then I would disagree with you. Um, and that is where epistemology comes in, and what we can know, like, and that's what I mean by what I want, quote, like what I want to see in order to accept something as true. It's perfectly fine, but I believe there are ways of demonstrating something that is beyond the empirical, even potentially the rational and logical. That's why I'm not exclusively logical. And it's like, if that bothers you, then I'm sorry, I need to move on to other things. One of those things, though, those evidences, is what you might call the uh, handiwork. So I've outlined in the past, I can go over them real quickly here. So it was in this thread. One, cosmic reality. things have a nested structure. This is essentially, well, you might say it's just pattern seeking. It's like, well, according to me, the world is created by God, which created things according to a pattern. So it fits. So you saying that that's just pattern seeking, that doesn't mean anything. It's like, of course, we're pattern seeking. So the fact that you can show it from an evolutionary standpoint, where like, here's how that pattern seeking might have developed. It's like, great. Um, you have an explanation for how the brain might work. But according to me, God designed all that. So the fact that we have a pattern seeking brain is a tool that we might reconnect with the pattern maker. And I hope to get more into this. So subtle means basically like hidden influences. I guess this is like those synchronicity events, things that like you might suspect were influenced by a spiritual being. Experiential things. So this is related to that, but it's like your transformation, like being born again, that kind of thing. Like you have a complete alteration, and that's related to efficacy as well. It's like, so the fact that the Bible outlines that you will be born again when you believe in Christ, like that is a prediction. And then so people put their faith in Christ, and they experience this process of being born again. It's not something they choose. It's like, yes, there is discipline, there is learning, and you develop your character, so to speak, but there's also this radical overnight transformation that has nothing to do with a conscious decision. It's just an effect. Prophetic improbability. So the typology and prophecy within the Old Testament, and cosmic meaning within that mirrors reality. And then you have just the combination of all of these things. So the prophetic, the experience, the symbolic, cosmic representations, these just countless testimonies of like demons and angels and all these things. Of course, you have other things that it's all accounted for. It's all accounted for by demons. Anyway, so yeah, so those are other forms of demonstration which aren't empirical. They're not repeatable, they're not testable, but they are there. And so that's how I think we would expect to interact with that which is beyond the material, if there were something. So it's the same way that you interact with memory, um, the past. It's like it exists in this nebulous realm of your experience. So it's still true. Peace out.